All right, guys. Welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks Philly Sports. Once again, I'm joined by my good buddy Johnny Ulecka from All About the Birds. Just here to, break down another Birds loss. It seems like we're beating our head against the wall here, talking about the same things every week, complaining every week, but we still got to bring it. And thanks for coming on, man. Welcome to the show again.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, guys, just remember to go check out the All About the Birds podcast, as well as many other podcasts, branching out of the All About the Birds umbrella there. And, just a lot of content coming all the time. So be sure to check out the website, allaboutthebirds.com, and be sure to give them a follow over on Twitter at AAT Birds. You got Johnny's Twitter handle there. So you can go ahead and give him a follow. And of course, continue to listen to the Scotty Talks podcast. And we're just looking to continue to build here and keep the content coming, man. We can go ahead and dive right into the Birds this week, man. I know, I guess for me going into that game, I didn't have my expectations set too high. But at the same time, you still – I think every Eagles fan right now, well, maybe not now, maybe yesterday was the turning point. But, every Eagles fan, felt once his team gets pushed up to the complete wall, backs against the wall, they usually turn it on and can give us something. And, at the very least yesterday, I guess I expected us to fall short. Maybe, I thought we could win, but I expected if we were going to fall short, it would at least just be, a composed, just lost because you're not as good as them type of thing.
Yeah.
No, it was once again just us shooting ourselves in the foot in a game that we should have probably won in all reality. The Browns didn't play that good at all. We just happened to play worse. How did you feel coming out of that loss? I mean, it's kind of just even more demoralizing.
Yeah. Well, watching the start of that game, they go down the field after they stop Cleveland. They go down the field. They're running the ball really well, and it's like, okay, so Doug kind of got a little bit of sense. He's running the ball like he said he was going to do. They're pounding it, and they're not getting little yards. They're getting chunks of yards. So he's like, okay, and then you get the ball at the 4-yard line, and then the Miles Sanders fumble, and it's just like, ugh, not again. And then it's just, I don't know. I just don't understand how you can go away, because then you have the interception for the, to Taki for the touchdown. And I don't know what Carson was looking at. I understand where Rager was. I'm not sure what kind of position he was in if he were to throw that, but it just seems Carson is just double clutching and just, I don't know what it is. It could be a sense of confidence. It could be he just doesn't want to throw it unless the person's super wide open.
Yeah.
But it's just, they, like you said, they're shooting themselves in the foot. And there's nothing more to say with that. Also, with the offensive game plan that you thought that they had in that first drive, they kind of almost went away from it. Yeah, they got chunks here and there, but it's demoralizing as a fan to watch this. And like I mentioned, that this offense is like a 1990s stale version. That's what it is. It's a stale early 90s offense, which doesn't work in today's game. And you watch other games. I don't know if you watched the Kansas City Las Vegas game last night. Yeah. And they were back and forth, and it's just like I said, it's demoralizing to watch.
Yeah. And I'm right there with you. With that Carson play, I mean, it was one of those things when, just watching it, I'm like, oh man, here comes the cornerback, about to blast him on the backside. You know what I mean? And, first glance, I'm like, oh, we can't blame Carson for that, blah, blah, blah. He got hit while he was throwing. The offensive line, was obviously he was under pressure. After watching it so many times, I'm just starting to feel more and more like, Yes, I was blaming Doug because he, like you said, he went away from the run immediately after the fumble. It was like, screw this. We came out and passed, like 3 or 4 times in a row, which turned into that interception.
Yeah.
But I looking at Carson, it's just plays that we can't afford you to make, man. And like I just lofting the ball, like I don't know. At that point, you're getting hit. You just can't throw it up for. Like, I mean, that was he just lofted it up. I mean, that's a pick six every day of the week.
Yeah.
And it's just a play you don't make. You know what I mean? What's up with his awareness? I don't know. It has not looked the same. You know what I mean? And the question marks are real with Carson. We can't ignore them anymore, I don't think. There's a lot of Carson apologists, and I probably am one of them. But it's getting harder and harder, and I'm not like fully on. Let's bench him for Jalen Hurts. I don't think that works, but something's got to give. You know what I mean? The turnovers just won't stop. It's like it just won't stop. I don't get it.
No.
But then, just to your point about the Miles Sanders fumble, man, and that was my thing all week was like feed Miles, and I saw him out there without the gloves, and I was just kind of looking at the beginning of the game. It was rainy conditions. I was like,
this isn't good.
In my mind, I was just really worried because I knew exactly what it would do to Doug, and it would steer him away from the run game, and that's exactly what it did. But that was kind of what I wanted to ask you is like, who is the star player on this team? Who is a go-to guy that we can trust to make the play? I mean, I thought Miles was kind of that guy. He comes out and he fumbles in the first drive. It's like, man, we're lobbying for you to get the ball. The focus is on you at the beginning of this game. If you score that touchdown or just don't even fumble it right there, we're going to ride you this entire game. That was, if Doug goes out there, scores 7 on that first drive, running the football, he will be content doing that if that's going to score points. Miles messes that up. It's like, who can you trust?
Yeah, well, it's a tough question, and you really think about it. I still I'll put trust in Miles Sanders because of how talented he is, and what he has shown you. And even a player like Dallas Goedert, I don't think he's the type of, he's not an elite tight end, but he's a very reliable and he's a young player you can build with. Jalen Reagor, they don't give him the ball in space. It just,
right.
It's pretty remarkable that you draft this guy who has the speed and has the elusiveness to get, use him and get him out in space. And they're just not doing that. And Fulgham's only targeted a few times. I understand Denzel Ward was on him, who's a very good corner. But the last 2 games, they've rarely looked his way. And it's interesting. Now, Alshon Jeffrey hasn't played that much. But there's nobody but maybe Miles Sanders and Goddard that you would say are stars.
Yeah.
But the thing is, last year, Carson was able to do wonders with practice squad guys. So, and there goes that narrative is, Carson's so talented, he doesn't need these guys. But then there's also the people saying that, Carson needs better playmakers. You can't be on both sides. He's struggling. And you could say, I know in that game, at one point, he looked like he was only looking on one side of the field. He's not surveying the field. He's not. I just don't know, what to really make of it. It's just, like you said, the turnovers are just nonstop shooting yourself in the foot. And it just doesn't bode well for him. And no, benching him doesn't really, for me, I don't really think it does well. Now, if he struggles, say Monday night, primetime against Seattle, what more do you have to lose? If they're down 3 scores, really, what do you have to lose? But
let's see what he can do at that point. I mean,
to your first question, there really isn't. I would say Miles and Dallas Goedert, maybe that'd basically be it. But the other thing that's concerning is the last 2 games, they're 2 for 21. That's 9.5% on third downs. That is pitiful.
Yeah,
that is awful. And it's just the route concepts these receivers are running. Nobody's getting open. They can't beat man coverage. It's just, like I said, concerning to watch on all. And as a fan, it's concerning being in that building. I can just imagine what it is. And you saw Doug's press conference this morning or early this afternoon. He looks beaten down,
Yeah.
which isn't really, that's not good for your head coach to be,
Yeah.
to look that way. He just looked basically exhausted and just beaten down and just like almost done, which you don't want to see out of your head coach.
I mean, this season, I mean, you just play it back in your head so far. I mean, we're week 11, you know what I mean? The end of week 11 now. And just think about what we've seen this season. I mean, it's been unthinkable things during an Eagles game. You know what I mean? Like we're the team that everybody's having like these field days on. You know what I mean? It's like we're the laughing stock this year, and it just has this vibe. If it keeps going down this road, if the Eagles really can't steal one of these games, that of these upcoming games, and they really just lose out, it's given that vibe of one of those seasons where you clean house. I mean, where you fire the head coach. And I think, with Carson, obviously the money situation makes that just a tough ordeal. I mean, even if you're not sold on him, you already paid out the money in reality. So it's going to be hard to get rid of him after a careerly bad year. But I'm just wondering how this is about to go because, it's like, what did we expect in reality against the Browns, I guess? You're going in there, the weather conditions aren't great. I mean, they are a ground and pound, physical defensive team. And they run the ball. That's what they do. They literally pounded us until it broke open. And, that's kind of like their best case scenario when they get to play that way in that weather. You know what I mean? That's their home field. They like to play in that. You're coming out here against Seattle. It's a really bad defense. And I know the Cardinals didn't look great. It looks like the Seahawks are, kind of picking it up a little bit on the defensive end. But still, they're a really badly ranked defense in the NFL. And I'm not saying we should go out there and win. Obviously, we shouldn't, but we should be able to see something on offense because these games. I mean, this offense it'll make your eyes bleed. You know what I mean? Like, there's no game plan. It doesn't feel like there's any game plan. I mean, to your point, yesterday we abandoned the run. And Miles Sanders isn't even in on passing downs. So they completely scripted him out in the second half.
And two carries. He had 2 carries in the second half.
And I really don't understand it. There's no explaining that to me. And then you have, Carson once again throwing close to 40 times, in the rain. It really makes zero sense. But go ahead.
No, it's the other big issue, and the last 2 games when Alshon's been active, he's played, and Hightower hasn't played anything at all. Now he was last week. He was, I guess, put on like the COVID list for close contact, but I think he was negative, so he got the play. He played 1 play. Yeah. But ever since Hightower's been out of the game, they haven't really gone deep.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? They haven't gone those deep passes.
They're not sending Rager. They're not sending Rager those deep routes.
So it's really concerning because another thing that I saw was only 2 quarterbacks have had 2+ interceptions, 5 sacks, a fumble, a pick 6, and a safety in a game. The last time that happened was 2003, Jay Fiedler versus the Patriots. Carson Wentz is the other one.
Oh my God.
And it's not. The Browns didn't have Myles Garrett. Okay, that's one of the best defensive linemen in the league. So you thought, okay, they'll be pretty good. Jason Peters keeps getting beaten like a drum. Olivier Vernon is an okay player. He's a serviceable defensive lineman. He's a pass rushing defensive lineman. He's not terrible. Adrian Claiborne is a journeyman defensive lineman, and he beat Jason Peters as well. And like I said, I want to get more on this. When we talk to Trey Thomas about the offensive line and about what's the best the best case. What's the best starting five on that? Because
Yeah.
Lane Johnson got a shoulder injury. He was hurt. So then they moved Matt Pryor out there. And then Sua Opeta to right guard, which then Doug says this morning that Sua Opeta's earned the starting job. I don't understand because they talked about Nate Herbig and he's been progressing and doing very well. And they had Nate Herbig as the backup center last year. Jason Kelsey gets hurt and they have Luke Juriga in there. They don't even have Nate Herbig. And Nate Herbig's healthy. They didn't have him even active.
Yeah.
It's just so concerning when you look at the offensive line. And we've talked about it numerous times about go with the youth. See what the young players can do. And he says again today, Jason Peters is going to start at left tackle.
Forcing it down our throats, man.
And, it's some of it's on Carson. Some of it's on the offensive line. Some of it's on the schematics of the receivers, the route running, and what they're doing. It's a culmination of everything. But again, Doug said he was asked about the head coach and quarterback, or he was asked something. He said, yeah, it's always the head coach and quarterback, but also we have this issue, this issue, this issue, this issue. And he's naming all this stuff. But the point of the fact is, you're the head coach. You have to be the head coach.
Yeah,
it is your team.
These holes.
When other stuff is wrong, it's still your team. You're not an offensive coordinator. You're not a QB coach. You're not just on the offensive side of the ball. You're a head coach. And the question I want to ask you is, what do you see with Carson, and how do you feel about Press Taylor? I know there's a lot of stuff with that. My thought on it is he's basically too buddy with him. What do you think they need to do with Carson, whether it's Doug or Press, or how do you feel that situation plays out the rest of this year?
I think that, Press Taylor, I think he was probably, it's probably one of those situations where Carson maybe has a say there and he's like, hey, kind of let this guy get the, I work well with him. Let's work this out with this guy. Because, in reality, he's not qualified in the first place to be in the position that he's in right now. And it's showing clearly. Carson's regressed. We couldn't admit it earlier in the season, but
it's blatant. He's blatant.
Yeah,
he's regressed.
And games in, we see it. He's making some decisions that you're taught in high school and Pee Wee to not make these throws and to not take these sacks and stuff like that. That's IQ. That's mental awareness. That's stuff that you can fix on your own. You know what I mean? That doesn't have anything to do with what's going on around you.
The other issue, I just looked it up. You know how old Press Taylor is?
How old?
He'll be 33 in January. Carson Wentz is 28 already.
Right.
It's only a few years different. It's not that big of a difference.
Right.
They're DiFilippo was super tough and wanted to get the best. That's what a coach does. They get the best out of you.
Exactly.
Whether you like it or not, they want the best for you and the best out of you. So they're going to push you. They're going to challenge you. Does Press Taylor challenge Carson Wentz? And is that a reason that Carson Wentz has regressed? There's a lot to look into that. Because if his mechanics are going back to what they were 2016 and he's going back to the poor mechanics and the poor weight distribution on his legs, on his hips, and dipping his arm and doing different things that he wasn't doing in previous years.
Right.
That falls on the coaching as well as it falls on Carson not to fix it.
Right. Yeah, and I think you're spot on right there. You notice it with Carson. It's almost he gets to these post-game conferences and he's just kind of trying to just get through it, just answer all the questions. Yeah. There's no sincerity coming out. It's just the same answer every single time. You diverge. You know what I mean? And it's almost, you can just tell he's being coddled within the franchise because he's allowed to, just ignore these questions. And then, Doug, let's be honest about the situation for once. And, maybe we can call Carson out. We don't have to say that he's not our quarterback, but we can call him out and be like, man, these turnovers are killing us. You know what I mean? You can say that type of stuff. And it just doesn't seem like they have that relationship. Even him and Doug, where Doug can walk in and say, Carson, tell him to do something. Because if Carson is checking out of these plays like Doug is saying that he is,
yeah,
what does that say about you? He doesn't think that you can run the offense, Doug. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's that level of respect between them. And I don't think you can, at this point with Doug, I don't think it can happen unless we clean out the coaching staff. And, we haven't even talked about Jim Schwartz. I think that's a foregone conclusion that we got to try something fresh with that. It seems like every corner that's leaving our system goes and plays really good. So,
did you see Ronald Darby is the 5th ranked cornerback for Pro Football Focus?
Yeah,
he's playing very well
because he was good on Buffalo as well.
Yeah.
So what does that say about our scheme? I mean, it doesn't do anybody any favors. And even Slay, I mean, Slay makes the best of it. He's the best probably that we've seen play in it, but he still isn't at his best. He's not put in a lot of opportunities where he can make plays. And I don't know. It obviously, we've been living off this Jalen Mills guy. And I mean, it's like it gets worse and worse with him too. I don't understand that either. But one thing I wanted to point out to you really quick, and it's kind of feeding off what you were saying, with the offense. It was about Jalen Reagor, and just our overall usage of Jalen Reagor is just ridiculous. You see us doing these wide receiver screens with Greg Ward, and it's like, why wouldn't we do that with Jalen Reagor? Why do we do that with Greg Ward, who's not a guy who runs after the catch? I don't get it. And then my other concern, and I thought that Jalen Reagor would kind of address this as well, but on special teams, I mean, our punt return unit is bad. I mean, we are always in a bad situation.
Well,
and nothing is fixing it.
Exactly. And Phil's mentioned it numerous times, in the post-game show and in preview shows, he's mentioned about Greg Ward doesn't get you much, in terms of he gets 3-4 yards per catch, but he's a number 4 option basically. But he's basically your number 2-3 depending on what you see. But Phil pointed, I think it was on the post-game show, Phil pointed it out yesterday that you have Greg Ward back at the punt returner. He's not a quick twitch type of athlete. He's a guy that is sure-handed type of receiver that'll get you if it's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, he'll get you the first down. He's not going to be able to break tackles and make long gains out of the punt return. He's just a sure-handed guy to catch the ball in inclement weather. Did they do that because Jalen Reagor, muffed the punt the first week and they don't, it just seems like they're real quick to pull the plug on a Miles Sanders or a Jalen Reagor, or even last year Miles Sanders when he was fumbling, I think the Detroit game.
Yeah.
You're quick to do that and not do something that's going to benefit your team, because Jalen Reagor has the speed and elusiveness to be very dangerous on the kick game, which is a big facet of the football team.
Yeah.
It's the offense, defense, special teams.
Yeah.
But they're so quick to do that and take a player off the field and not really show it that much. But when it comes to changing up the offensive philosophy or changing up something, something else that you can definitely see with your own eyes that is drastically wrong or is just not working, that they keep going to that, yet they do this other stuff. So a lot of it makes a whole bunch, doesn't make any sense. And it's so frustrating to watch because, us as fans, we can see it. And it's just like, it's not rocket science. It's a lot of it. Some of it's common sense, and you see it you go on Twitter and you see all these guys, Brian Balding or Dan Orlovsky, all these guys breaking down the tape and saying, he should have threw it here. This is open. This is designed to do this. So, there's blame to go around to everybody, but I know Doug doesn't like that it starts with the head coach and quarterback, but unfortunately, that's where it starts with.
Yeah, exactly.
And people like to blame Howie Roseman for the drafts and everything like that. And okay, he's had some bad picks and everything like that. He's had some good picks too. I give Howie crap a lot of the time too. I do it. But when you don't have a coaching staff to mold these players,
What
Look
can
at all
you do?
look at all the players leaving. Nelson
Yeah,
Aguilar looked pretty good tracking the ball last night. I don't
yeah,
know if you saw it. He made
yeah,
and it was funny the one catch in the end zone that he missed that was a drop, but he almost made that spectacular catch. Really looked like that New England game last year,
yeah,
where he tried to catch it and just it went off his fingertips.
yeah,
But it's so concerning on the ultimate level. It's just
yeah,
it's baffling. And like you said, there needs to be wholesale changes.
yeah. And just to touch on your point about Greg Ward, fielding punts, it's almost at that point that you, as a coaching staff, feel that you don't have anything out there that you can trust enough to just return punts. From an athletics, you don't trust Rager, you don't trust Hightower, you don't trust Boston Scott even. Boston Scott could return punts better than Greg Ward. I
Yeah.
mean, so you just don't trust any of those guys to the point where you're putting, an unathletic, sure-handed wide receiver back there just to fair catch the punt. But yeah, that is an interesting point, about them pulling the plug on guys. And just another point, and this will get lost, we'll forget about this in years after we end up cutting him. But J-Jaw. I mean, I know we rag on J-Jaw all the time. We drafted this guy fairly high, and
Yeah.
it's not like we drafted him completely out of place or anything like that. He was in that second to third round talent level that we got him at, and look what we've done with it. I mean, we've done nothing to help him. I mean, we don't do anything to help J-Jaw. We don't try to get him involved in the games. We don't,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing we're doing to Fulgham. I mean, we're phasing him out of the offense. At times, it's like, where's Rager been? There's no focus point to get him the ball. So it just, we don't do these guys any favors to where people will talk about DK. People will talk about, they'll talk about Justin Jefferson. It's not the same. I mean, receivers are not going to perform in this offensive scheme that way. They don't get the opportunities. And it's so weird because we pass the ball so much. So where are the targets going? Like, where is the ball going? I don't understand. You know what I mean? But I guess one more thing.
It's going to the defense. That's where the ball's going.
Yeah, that's how much we're turning the ball over. But I guess one more point before we, move on to the defense and talk a little bit about them. Zach Ertz supposed to be coming back soon. How do you feel about that? Does that do anything for the offense? I think at the very least it gives a decoy. But maybe he comes back out. Maybe he was beat up at the beginning of the season. Maybe that's why he was hampering so much. But do you think it brings any spark or any livelihood to this dead in the water offense?
I hope so. I hope it brings something to the offense. But how he played earlier, I really don't have much confidence. I just don't know.
Where could you get it from?
Yeah, like what kind of mental level is he going to be at? How is he going to be used in the offense? Basically, are they going to be using the 12 personnel? Like, are they going to move him out? In the slot here, move him around. I really don't have any confidence in the coaching staff using anything that you give them right now, just because of what I've seen the last handful of games.
Yeah.
The last 3 games have been, piss poor, and literally they could have, lost that. Actually, the last 4 games, you think about it, they could have lost that Giants game and the Cowboys game. So if the Cowboys would have had either Garrett Gilbert or Andy Dalton, they probably would have beat the Eagles.
Yeah.
And then you would have what, 1 win?
Yeah.
And then, but I just don't know. Like, you think getting Ertz back is going to help. We thought getting all these guys healthy was going to make a difference, and it hasn't done really much of anything.
If anything, it's made it worse.
Yeah. So, I just don't know. Does Carson see, the one thing I worry about is when Alshon's on the field, or when Deshaun Jackson was healthy and he was on the field, and it just seems like he focuses too much to try and get the person the ball instead of focusing on who's open at that time and surveying the defense and what the defense is going to give me, and where And the other thing he doesn't do is throw guys open.
Yeah.
Maybe there has been a couple instances where he's done that, but most of the time he doesn't throw guys open. He's hesitant to do that, which is concerning because not everyone's going to be wide open. It's the NFL. The talent is unbelievable. So
you got to throw in tight windows. I mean,
I hope Zach Ertz is a big difference. I hope he helps against a Seattle defense that isn't terrible, but they do have, they did add Carlos Dunlap and Snacks Harrison to the defensive line, but they're not a great defense, but they're starting to play a little bit better. But hopefully it does something. I just don't have that much confidence in it.
Yeah, and I definitely feel you there. I guess one thing, to point out there is kind of how Richard Rodgers has filled in and, he's been more involved than what Zach Ertz was, and mind you, Zach Ertz gets a lot more attention, of course.
Yeah.
But, this past game, for instance, against the Browns, Richard Rodgers and Dallas Goedert are the leading receivers in that game. So I don't know if Zach Ertz coming back will hurt that or help it. You know what I mean? As far as I think at the very least he does take attention away, and it should help Goedert a lot more. It should help Goedert to get open a little bit more. Just Zach Ertz at least being that decoy and taking some of the defensive attention away. But overall, it's kind of like what we've been talking about all day, and we could sit here, all night and just pick out every single hole in this team. And, it's almost as if they're endless at this point. And, no one position player is going to change that. I mean, we've gotten Rager back. We've gotten Goddard back. We've gotten Alshon back. It doesn't make it. If anything, I think it makes everything harder for Doug. I think it gives him too many options to where he just doesn't know what to do with the ball, where at least when it's just like Ertz and Ward last season, and then you only have Sanders, it's like, well, I only got these options, so let's force feed them, get those guys involved, and now they're hot and they go on a roll. But this nowadays we have too many options, the luxuries. Doug can't make up his mind on what he wants to do. He doesn't appreciate Miles Sanders, who I don't know about you, but I think he's probably, the best player on the team, if at least the most explosive player on the team.
100%.
And we could talk about the defense now. It seems like the same old with the defense. I mean, I think they played better than they did against the Giants, of course. But it seems like every time the offense can get some points, they go and they give points, right back. We can never gain any momentum when our offense gets humming. We can never just get the ball back for the offense. And let's not get it twisted. The offense doesn't do the defense any favors either.
No. Puts
them in really bad situations. So it's you got to give or take. But, I guess we had a couple positives. We got to see Fletcher get the forced fumble finally. Something from him. Finally, a showing from Hargrave that was, somewhat good and recognizable after spending so much money on him. And, and then, of course, we had Alex Singleton, who, that's one bright spot that we can point out. This guy at linebacker, he's at least serviceable at the least right now, and looking really good in a defense that's lacking.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he would play with more talent in that linebacking core, but for right now, he's definitely looking like our best linebacker. What are some of your takeaways from the defense? What did you see yesterday? It was kind of, I feel like the Browns really went by their script. They just pounded the ball until it broke loose, and they took the game right there. How'd you feel about it?
Well, they stopped the run. They did a very good job. And even on that Chubb long one where he stiff-armed the hell out of Joe Ostman.
Yeah.
TJ Edwards was held on the play. If you didn't see,
saw that. Yeah.
He was getting his back of his jersey held. But the one thing you look at that play, if that's any other player than Joe Ostman who gets stiff-armed like that, they don't run down and make that tackle. Joe Osman finished that play. He went down and got that tackle.
Right.
Yeah, he got embarrassed with the stiff arm, but he didn't lay down and just stay. He got back up and he ran all the way down the
Yeah.
field and made that tackle. But, looking at the defensive line, Josh Sweat is a heck of a player. He's
Yeah.
very, very, very good. And a lot of people clamored, and I was one of them. I'll eat crow on it for wanting Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah.
Jadeveon Clowney went on IR
Right.
for the Titans, and he has 0 sacks this year.
Right.
So Josh Sweat is playing very well. Fletcher Cox played a very good game, especially against one of the best guards in the league in Teller. So that was good. Singleton's really showing me what he can do at linebacker, and really showing me that Nate Gary doesn't need to see the field for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
The secondary is what's super concerning, and it seems like it's every single year. Avonte Maddox is not an outside corner, and that's just so concerning because he needs to play slot corner. And I know he struggled here and there with that, but eventually, I've been thinking about it, and come 2021, I think Rodney McLeod doesn't come back. They either release him or trade him, and I think Avonte Maddox takes that spot at safety, which may fit him. But then again, who plays at the outside corner? There's so many questions. They did well getting some pass rush on Baker Mayfield, but then again, when you need a stop from the defense, they don't get it. They let Jalen Mills was in La La Land against Kadero Hodge and let a long pass. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he thought Parks was going to help him, but he looked so confused.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, the same thing we say with the offensive side of the ball, with the defensive side of the ball, start letting the Kayvon Wallaces and let these young Davion Taylor, now Davion Taylor did play a bulk amount, more than I've seen him play at all this year, but let these young guys play, because you're going to see what you kind of get out of them. You get them some seasoning, but all in all, the defense makes it look like the defense did really well, but they had their flaws too. But like you said, the offense didn't help them.
Right.
They kept them in the game long enough, but the thing is, the offense needs to score some points, because eventually this defense is made to bend, and then it'll break. But by the time it breaks, you should already have a 10-point, 14-point lead. And that's the thing that we're not seeing. The offense hasn't scored 30 points this year, so that's not helping the defense.
Right.
In a high-powered offensive game, the defense held a Browns team who, okay, they've struggled, but they've been able to run the ball and be able to, put it to their opponents when they are on.
Yeah.
And you held them to 22 points. Now, I don't really, the 2-point safety and the pick six. So you take those 9 points off the board. You held them to a pretty decent total that you should have been able to outscore them.
Yeah.
So, I know Jim Schwartz is going to be a scapegoat. We know that.
Yeah.
He's not going to return. But do you really want him to?
No. No. And I think that's where all Eagles fans are with that and the whole defensive scheme. We know what they are at this point. Whereas the offense, I think we kind of expect more from them. The corner situation, the whole secondary, it's so frustrating. You can't trust them.
And they don't want to tackle either.
When we need a stop, you just know that we're not going to get it.
Yeah. Unless the pass rush gets home.
Yeah. And it's very, it seems like they're very streaky in that instance. You know what I mean? They have hot streaks when they're actually getting home to the quarterback. But defensively, I think we know what we're going to get. Just like you said, it's that bend but don't break defense, and we're going to get that every single week. We know our weaknesses. I think, like you said, I think our run defense did look a lot better. I think we knew going into that game that we needed to stop the run. So I think that was just a heavy focus. Obviously, Cleveland is built off of that. But we did. We did play it very well for most of the game. And, I think that's what's happening to the defense a lot this season is that, they're waiting for the offense to just score some points. And, by the time the offense scores some points, I think that's why the defense is already giving it back because they just it's like they get to relax for 1 second where the offense finally scores. And then as soon as they relax, you get scored on. And I think it's just that kind of similar to what you were saying is that neither one side of the ball is good enough to help the other side at all.
No.
They completely contradict each other because they both suck. And
you're right.
I mean, it's as simple as that. We don't have a team, like the Seahawks where their offense is just, pretty good with Russell Wilson back there. You got some explosive receivers, but, your defensive side is, not that great. But you can score to keep in games, but we can't do that.
No. And you don't take the ball away.
Yeah, exactly.
They have 3 interceptions, which is I think the Texans and the Cowboys either have the same, or I think Texans have 2 and Cowboys have 3 interceptions. That's pitiful. They don't take the ball away, and that's known for Jim Schwartz. It's been how many years? A couple of years. They just don't pick the ball off.
Yeah,
and it's not something we're used to. Watching Eagles defenses, you're used to them being able to take the ball away, and they just don't.
Attacking.
Yep, and they just don't do that.
Yeah,
and it's evident what's shown on the field. And you really have any confidence in a team like Russell Wilson, who's 5-0 career against the Eagles, coming in on Monday night, prime time. This, to me, it has the feel of the 2005 42-0, beatdown, or, the very first game I went to an Eagles party. My very first Eagles party was 1998 against the Seahawks. They lost 38-0. So it just has, I don't know, it just has a weird feel. But really, who knows? They could wind up coming out and playing well. You don't even know. You don't know what teams. They're so Jekyll and Hyde and more.
Yeah.
They don't put a whole game together. They'll go spurts of looking pretty good and then huge spurts of looking like trash. You have no idea what this team is, and there's no identity. And Phil's mentioned it multiple times. He said on our shows that there's a team that lacks identity. What is the identity? And he's 100% correct. There is none.
Yeah. No, and I guess this is kind of where we're going to end the show. Just talking about expectations going forward, and the Seahawks, and then the Packers, Saints, Cardinals, Cowboys, Washington, all games that we could lose. And even that Dallas and Washington game looked like, as of right now, I would say, if I had to bet my life on it, I'm probably gonna pick Washington over Philadelphia at this point. But just going into the Seahawks game, I guess a good thing to point out is, they're playing on national television again. Seems like
they're undefeated on national television.
They're undefeated on national television. That's like the one thing they have going for them. It's just hard to imagine our offense coming out and, just lighting it up. But, just to your point again, about the entire season, the 3 wins that we have, I mean, they at least 2 of them, and even the San Fran game, you're on the edge of your seat. I mean, they were miserable. I mean, we have not had a good win this season where the offense, doesn't turn the ball over, looks good, and the defense, maybe gives up a couple plays, but, doesn't give up a 30-burger, nothing like that. We haven't had a game like that yet where we haven't all around, we're better than that team. And I think that speaks volumes. I think we have sunken ourselves into this hopeless pit with, Doug Peterson bringing us back there's always just this little glimmer of hope, you know, in the back of my mind. Somehow we're still number one in the division. It doesn't make sense. So we're just left with this glimmer of hope, and it's just going to be miserable, man. I just wonder how the rest of this plays out. You know, if another team in the NFC East is like going to take control of things, you know, if the Eagles do lose these next couple games. How are you feeling about that? What are you hoping that happens with the Eagles? What do you even want to happen? Let's start there.
I hope that they turn it around. Of course, I'm going to say that, but you know, there's so many times where I'm a little too optimistic. I think I'm too high on it in terms of I think that they're better than they actually are, and I think that they can change it and they can turn it around. And you know, I say it too many times that, you know, in my head that they'll be fine. They have this, that, but really, you look at it, they probably won't be favored in any game remaining. They'll probably be underdogs in every single game.
Right.
And you know, it's just I like I said, I have a bad feeling Monday night. You know, I've picked the Eagles to win every time we had a prediction or anything like that. But the way I see it now is if you pick this team to win, you may need to go get checked because there's nothing to be hopeful for because the team isn't showing you anything. Maybe if they come out and they shock everybody and they beat Seattle, then maybe you can say, okay, well, maybe they have a chance against other teams. But the problem is they haven't. And what do you? And my biggest concern is, what are we going to see from Carson? Is he going to keep looking as bad as he is? And are they going to wind up saying eventually, you know, enough is enough? Sit down. We're gonna play Hurts, whether it's the second half of a game or whether it's he gets a starting nod later in the season. But for them to be still in first place is, you know, it's pretty disgusting to look at. You know, you see I saw last night on Sunday Night Football, they showed the NFC playoff standings, and they showed the Eagles there at 3-6-1, and it's just like they don't belong. They don't belong there. And on Thursday, on Thanksgiving, you're going to have Dallas and Washington, and the winner of that will be in first place until the Eagles game. If the Eagles win, and the Eagles, of course, will go in. But, you know, to me, it feels like one of those teams are going to be the ones who are going to be fighting it out for that first place. Because the way the Eagles have looked, like I said, they may not win another game for the rest of the year. Yeah. And, you know, what does that say if you wind up ending up 3-12-1? You're going to see a lot of changes, and it may not just be Doug Peterson and Jim Schwartz. It may be a whole lot more, but there needs to be some type of change. There needs to be something, because if they go in and lay another egg and it's the same spiel again, I don't know. The fans may march down to NovaCare complex with torches and pitchforks, because I just don't know what to make of this team. You can't read them. So, to me, I don't have much confidence right now until they show me otherwise.
Yeah, I think they are. Good word for them, I think, is embarrassing. The incompetence, you know, it's painful to watch them. You know, when other fans of other teams, they watch our games, you know, sometimes, you know, we have a lot of friends outside the fan base, of course. So when they check out your team, you're the laughing stock. Like, you're the bad team. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, like Mark Sanchez butt fumble. Like, you're that team. The pick six, man, that one got me. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. You know, I looked at my girlfriend, Alexis, and I was just like, man, like, am I delusional? Like, am I psychotic for, like, sitting here and putting myself through this every Sunday? I mean, because it's painful.
What about the second interception? Alshon Jeffrey jumps way too early. I don't know what he's doing. Now, I have no idea. It looked like it was an uncatchable ball, but he did jump early. I have no idea. I don't know.
And, you know, he just looks old. I mean, you know, they had got us all hyped with him, you know, losing weight or whatever. He looks great shape. And
It looks like he's running with a sled behind him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's not quicker. There's nothing good about this. I mean, I don't know, man. The Jason Peters one really is the one that gets me, Move him over to right guard if you're like that pressed, you don't want to bench him. Like, move him somewhere else. But, you got to let Jordan Mailata. I just don't get it, man. But this is where we're at. You're 3-6-1. There's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of hostility. There's a lot of frustration. And you just have to wonder if Jeffrey Lurie is seeing the same thing that we're seeing. You know what I mean? And you have to hope and pray, because it seems to be fairly obvious to us. But I don't know. I'm just praying that they can see it and we can get this changed, man. So I guess going into this weekend against the Seahawks, well, I guess we're playing on Monday Night Football, so we'll get to settle in from Thanksgiving and all that jazz, and watch the birds get torn up by Russell Wilson, man. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Because and that, I guess that's the last note we can go off of. We're going to be playing against a great quarterback, and we went against the Giants and Browns. They don't have great quarterbacks. The Cowboys did not have great quarterbacks. No. So this is going to be tormentative. But one part of me just wonders if the Eagles have any pride, anything left in the tank. But at this point, like you said, we can't give them any benefit of the doubt.
No.
Any final notes, Johnny, going into the Week 12 matchup? What's your final notes on the birds, man?
Pain. It's like, what it is we're going to go through Thanksgiving. We're going to go through Sunday, no Eagles, everything like that. And then Monday's going to come around, and they're going to come on and they're going to slap us in the face. Yep. And it's just how it's just how it feels.
Yeah.
And like I said, I hope I am wrong, but Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, I just don't know. And that's usually I kind of have a little bit of a feeling, like I said, optimism. I just don't. I can't. With what they've shown you, for you to think that they can do any different, and for them to only open up as a 5.5 underdog, that was a little surprising as well. Which I expect that number to go up, but like I said, pain.
I mean, if you thought watching Hodge stream down the field wide open was bad, just wait until Lockett and DK Metcalf start mixing up our corners, man.
Yep.
It should be a show. Just get your alcohol ready and be ready to endure some heavy negativity, man. It's not going to be a good one. I don't think so. So just to try to enjoy Thanksgiving, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoy Thanksgiving with your family. Watch the Washington football team and the Cowboys beat up on one another, and just try to forget this mess. Yeah. But I'll go ahead and get you out of here, Johnny. We can go watch the Monday Night Football. Of course, another dismal week of podcasting on the Eagles, man. Can't wait for the Sixers to be back. Get into college basketball, a little bit of that stuff. But be sure to go ahead and give Johnny U a follow on Twitter. If you haven't already, you can find him at JohnnyU9322. And you can also go ahead and give a follow to the All About the Birds podcast channel. You can follow them on Twitter and Instagram at AATBirds. And also, of course, be sure to go give me a follow on Twitter at STPhillySports1. That's for the podcast. And then be sure to follow me at Scotty Drown. That's the personal page where you get to see all my ranting and disgruntled tweets of the Eagles. But thanks once again, Johnny. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for hopping on. That's going to be it, guys. Thanks for listening. Peace.
Thank you. Later.